Imagine the sun-dipping low over ancient Athens, casting long shadows across the agora where merchants hawk their wares and philosophers pace in fervent debate. In the year 399 BCE, a man of 70 stands before a jury of 500 fellow citizens, his bare feet planted firmly on the stone floor of the courtroom. This is Socrates, unassuming in his threadbare tunic, his face weathered by decades of relentless inquiry, his eyes piercing with an unyielding calm. Accused of corrupting the youth and impiety toward the gods, he does not beg for mercy. Instead, he turns a trial upon his accusers, questioning their certainties, exposing the fragility of their so-called wisdom. As the hemlock awaits, Socrates speaks not of fear, but of a life devoted to truth. "I am a gadfly which God has attached to the state," he declares, arousing and persuading and reproaching you. In this moment, as the jury condemns him to death, we witness not defeat, but the pinnacle of self-mastery, a man who has conquered not empires, but his own soul. His composure in the face of oblivion draws us in, whispering that true success is not survival, but sovereignty over one's principles. As the poison courses through his veins later that day, surrounded by weeping disciples, Socrates lifts his cup without tremor, embodying the triumph of an examined life. This scene, frozen in Plato's dialogues, pulls us across millennia, urging us to ask, what would you sacrifice for the mastery of your true self? Imagine Socrates, barefoot in Athens' lively marketplace, asking a stranger, what makes your life worth living? Born around 470 BCE, a stonemason son and war veteran, he didn't chase wealth or fame but truth. His questions cut through the noise of his time, war, politics, slick talkers, much like today's digital clamor and pressure to conform. His bold claim, the unexamined life is not worth living, dares you to question, are your goals truly yours? Though silenced by Hemlock, his ideas, through Plato, shaped Aristotle, Augustine, and modern call for authenticity. Socrates' wisdom isn't a lecture. It's a spark urging you to master yourself with clarity and courage. Let his voice guide you through this journey to true success in the midst of life's relentless march, where doubts whisper in the quiet hours and choices pulls in conflicting directions. Have you ever paused to ask why you believe what you do? This is where Socrates begins, not with answers, but with a raw bravery to probe the unknown. Picture him in the bustling agora, surrounded by the scent of olive oil and the clamor of debate, approaching a confident artisan or a pompous politician. What is justice? He inquires, his voice steady, unraveling their certainties thread by thread. This wasn't idle chatter. It was a deliberate act of courage, born from his oracle-inspired mission to expose false knowledge. Socrates' life was a testament to this valor. As a hoplite in the Battle of Potidaea, he faced spears and shield with the same unflinching resolve he brought to intellectual skirmishes. Plato recounts in the Symposium how Socrates stood barefoot in the snow, lost in thought, embodying a mastery over physical discomfort that mirrored his mental fortitude. His debates with the sophists, those silver-tongued rhetoricians who taught victory and argument over truth, highlighted his commitment. While they dazzled with eloquence, Socrates pierced with questions, revealing that true success demands confronting uncomfortable realities. Draw from his words. To find yourself, think for yourself. This echoes through history, inspiring Plato's Academy, Aristotle's Lyceum, and even Nietzsche's critique of herd mentality. In our time, apply this practically when faced with career pressures or societal norms. Question them. Is that promotion a step toward fulfillment, or a trap of ego? Resist the fear of appearing foolish. Socrates embraced it, knowing inquiry leads to self-mastery. Metaphorically, he was a gadfly stinging the sluggish horse of Athens awake, irritating, essential, urging progress. Yet, this courage isn't reckless, it's rooted in humility. As we transition to understanding ignorance's role, remember, questioning opens a door to wisdom, transforming confusion into clarity, and may existence into empowered living. From the shadows of self-deception, where we cling to illusions of omniscience, emerges a profound paradox. Admitting ignorance is a dawn of true knowledge. Socrates embodied this in his famous aphorism, "I know that I know nothing," uttered after the oracle of Delphi proclaimed him the wisest man in Greece. Perplexed, he set out to interrogate the reputed wise, politicians, poets, craftsmen, only to find their expertise masked deeper voids. In Plato's Apology, he describes his realization, Their pretense of wisdom blinded them, while his awareness of limits freed him. Storytelling brings this alive. Imagine Socrates in a quiet corner with young Alcibiades, the ambitious general, gently dismantling his arrogance. "You think you know power," Socrates might say, "but do you know your soul's true desires?" This humility wasn't weakness. It was armor against hubris, the downfall of many. His influence rippled outward. Augustine adopted it in his Confessions, acknowledging human fallibility as a path to divine truth, while modern thinkers like Karl Popper built falsifiability in science upon Socratic skepticism. For today, reflect practically. In pursuing success, inventory your assumptions. That business strategy, does it stem from data or dogma? Self-mastery begins by embracing uncertainty, using it as a catalyst for growth. Like a lantern-piercing fog, ignorance acknowledged illuminates paths hidden by overconfidence. Socrates' metaphor of the soul as a chariot, reason reigning in passions, underscores this. Without recognizing blind spots, we veer off course. This wisdom sets the stage for trials ahead, where truth isn't merely sought but tested in the fires of adversity, leading us to confront the crucibles that define our character amid the gales of injustice. When society demands silence and conformity, how do you stand firm in your convictions? Socrates' trial in 399 BCE was no mere legal proceeding. It was a dramatic clash between truth and power, a stage where self-mastery shone brightest. Accused by Meletus, Anytus, and likened of impiety and corrupting youth, he defended not his life, but his philosophy. In Plato's Apology, he retorts, "Men of Athens, I honor and love you, but I shall obey God rather than you." His calm demeanor amid jeers exemplified mastery over fear, turning the courtroom into a classroom. This episode draws from his lifelong debates, like those in Gorgias against rhetoricians who prioritize persuasion over ethics. Influencing Aristotle's emphasis on justice and Nietzsche's will to truth, Socrates showed that success isn't evasion of conflict but navigation through it with integrity. Practically, in modern dilemmas, whistleblowing at work or challenging biased norms, emulate his method. Question accusers' motives, expose inconsistencies. Truth, he taught, is a forge tempering the soul. Imagery abounds. Socrates is Athens' midwife, birthing ideas through dialectic pain. His trial's hemlock cup became a symbol of voluntary sacrifice for virtue, reminding us that self-mastery triumphs over tyranny. As we move to the unexamined life, note how this trial underscored the cost of complacency, urging us to inspect our existence lest it crumble under untested foundations. In the quiet voids of routine, where days blur into unreflected repetition, lurks a silent thief, the unexamined life, robbing us of purpose and depth. Socrates' stark warning, "The unexamined life is not worth living," resonated in his trial's closing, a defiant affirmation amid impending death. Through Plato's lenses in Phaedo, we see him in prison, discoursing on the soul's immortality. His final hour is a masterclass in introspection. He questioned disciples like Crito on escape, prioritizing ethical consistency over survival. This ethos inspired Augustine's inward turn in Confessions, and modern existentialists like Sartre, who echoed Socratic self-scrutiny. For contemporary application, amid digital distractions, carve time for reflection, journal doubts, interrogate habits. Is your success hollow if unaligned with virtue? Socrates viewed life as a dialogue with oneself, metaphors like the cave in Republic illustrating escape from illusions. Self-mastery here means auditing the soul daily, transforming inertia into intentionality. This examination naturally leads to virtue, the guiding force that orients our quests, much like a compass steering through storms. When doubt and temptation swirl like tempests, what anchors your course toward authentic success? For Socrates, virtue, arete, excellence of the soul, was an unerring compass, directing actions toward the good. In Meno, he probes whether virtue can be taught, concluding its knowledge pursued through dialectic. His life exemplified this. Rejecting Crito's bribe in prison, he chose death over Dishna, as detailed in Plato's accounts. Influencing Aristotle's golden mean and Stoics like Epictetus, who stressed control over internals, Socratic virtue reshaped ethics. Nietzsche critiqued it yet admired its rigor. Practically, cultivated today, in decisions, ask, does this foster justice, courage, temperance? Virtue masters impulses, turning challenges into growth. Imagery, The soul as a ship, virtue its rudder mid passion's waves. This compass points to legacy, where Socratic dialogue endures, inviting us to perpetuate his spirit through ongoing inquiry that as embers of personal revelation glow. Consider how one-man conversations ripple across epochs, igniting mind in pursuit of truth. Socrates left no writings, yet through Plato and Xenophon, his dialogues, like Euthyphro dissecting piety, endure as blueprints for inquiry. He engaged youth in the Lyceum's shade, fostering critical thinking that birthed Western philosophy. His impact: Plato founded the Academy, Aristotle tutored Alexander, Augustine bridged Christianity, modern educators use Socratic seminars. 4. Self-mastery: practice dialogue, question friends, debate internally. It's a living legacy, metaphorically an eternal flame passed hand to hand that I end the restless current of our lives, where ambitions clash with doubts and fleeting pleasures tempt us from deeper purpose. What does it truly mean to flourish? Socrates, the barefoot philosopher of Athens, would pause here, his gaze piercing yet kind, and ask, "What is the good life, and are you living it?" This question, rooted in his pursuit of eudaimonia, often translated as flourishing or the highest human good, forms a capstone of his philosophy. It's not a passive state but an active, lifelong quest, demanding self-mastery and alignment with virtue. Picture Socrates in the shade of an olive tree, as described in Plato's Phaedo, surrounded by disciples in his final hours, not mourning but probing the nature of the soul's fulfillment. His life, culminating in a willing embrace of death, teaches us that eudaimonia is not found in wealth, fame, or comfort, but in a soul harmonized with truth and goodness. This keynote explores how Socrates' vision of the good life challenges us to redefine success, offering a timeless blueprint for flourishing in a world that often distracts us from our deepest potential. Socrates' concept of eudaimonia emerges vividly in his dialogues, particularly in Plato's Republic, where he wrestles with the question of what constitutes true happiness. Unlike the sophists, who equated the good life with power or pleasure, echoes of today's obsession with status or instant gratification, Socrates insisted that eudaimonia arises from living justly, tempered by wisdom, courage, and self-control. In one memorable scene from the Gorgias, he debates the rhetorician Callicles, who champions hedonism, arguing that pleasure is the ultimate good. Socrates dismantles this with surgical precision, likening the hedonist's life to a leaky jar, endlessly filled yet never satisfied. True happiness, he counters, is the soul's order, where reason governs desires like a wise ruler over a harmonious city. This metaphor resonates. Imagine your soul as a vessel, its integrity shaped not by what you pour in, but by how you temper its structure through virtuous choices. Socrates' own life was a testament to this philosophy. As Xenophon recounts in his Memorabilia, Socrates lived simply, barefoot, in a worn cloak, sharing meals with friends rather than hoarding wealth. Yet his joy was palpable, derived not from material excess but from the richness of inquiry and connection. During the Peloponnesian War, he served as a hoplite, facing death with the same equanimity he later showed at his trial. In Plato's Apology, facing execution, he declares, "No evil can happen to a good man, either in life or after death." This wasn't bravado, but a conviction that eudaimonia, flourishing through virtue, renders one impervious to external harm. His serenity as he drank the hemlock, described in Phaedo, wasn't resignation but triumph. A life lived in alignment with the good, untarnished by fear or compromise. This vision influenced centuries of thought. Plato's Republic built on Socrates' ideas, envisioning a just society mirroring a balanced soul, while Aristotle refined eudaimonia into a life of rational activity in accordance with virtue, as outlined in his Nicomachean Ethics. The Stoics, like Epictetus, echoed Socrates' focus on inner control, teaching that external events cannot disrupt a virtuous soul flourishing. Even in modernity, existentialists like Kierkegaard and psychologists like Maslow, with his concept of self-actualization, owe debts to Socrates' insistence on living authentically. In our era, where success is often measured by external markers, followers, promotions, or possessions, Socrates' eudaimonia challenges us to redefine the good life as an inward journey, not a public scoreboard. Practically, how do we pursue this today? Begin by interrogating your definition of success. In the rush of deadlines or social pressures, pause and ask, does this path nurture my soul's excellence? Socrates' method offers a tool, relentless self-questioning. In your daily choices, whether to speak truth in a meeting, prioritize family over work, or resist mindless consumption, apply his lens. Is this just? Courageous? Wise? Journaling these reflections, as Socrates might have encouraged through dialogue, clarifies your values. For example, if chasing a high-paying job leaves you hollow, question whether it aligns with your deeper purpose. If social media fuels envy, examine why external validation holds sway. This introspection, though uncomfortable, forges self-mastery, aligning actions with an inner compass. Socrates' imagery illuminates this quest. In the Phaedo, he likens a soul to a charioteer guiding two horses, one noble, one unruly, toward truth. Eudaimonia requires reining in base desires with reason, steering toward virtue's higher ground. Consider the modern professional, torn between ethical integrity and corporate demands. Socrates would urge, choose the path that strengthens your soul, even if it risks external loss. His own trial exemplifies this. Offered escape by Crito, he refused, arguing in Plato's Crito that breaking the law would betray his principles, undermining the very eudaimonia he lived for. This choice, virtue over survival, shows that flourishing transcends circumstance, rooted in the soul's alignment with the good. Yet, this pursuit isn't solitary. Socrates thrived in community, engaging diverse voices in the agora. His dialogues, as Plato and Xenophon depict, were collaborative, sparking mutual growth. Today, seek your own agora, friends, mentors, or even online forums, where honest questioning thrives. Share doubts, debate values, and let others' perspectives sharpen your own. In a polarized world, the Socratic openness counts as echo chambers, fostering a richer understanding of the good life. Imagine a dinner with friends, not scrolling phones but probing life's purpose together, each question a step toward collective flourishing. The eternal nature of this quest lies in its unfinished quality. Socrates never claimed to have arrived at eudaimonia. His wisdom lay in pursuing it relentlessly. As he faced death, his final words in Phaedo, a request to offer a rooster to Asclepius, symbolizing healing, suggest that life's true cure is a pursuit itself. For us, this means embracing the journey, not the destination. Each choice, each question, each act of courage or restraint weave the tapestry of a flourishing life. In moments of doubt, picture Socrates' lantern, its light cutting through the fog of modern distractions, guiding you toward a success that endures beyond fleeting applause. As we conclude this keynote, the quest for eudaimonia connects us back to Socrates' trial, where he stood not as a victim but as a master of his soul's destiny. His legacy invites you to embark on this eternal pursuit, where every question asked, every virtue practiced, crafts a life of profound fulfillment. Let this vision carry us forward, into a life where flourishing is not a trophy, but a flame kindled by the relentless pursuit of the good that I in the clamor of a world that demands you fit its mold, where voices urge you to nod, obey, and blend into the crowd. Had you ever felt the quiet rebellion of your own heart? Socrates, the gadfly of Athens, lived this defiance, not with swords or shouts, but with questions that shattered the complacency of his time. Picture him in 403 BC, as recounted in Xenophon's Memorabilia, standing in the agora after Athens' defeat in the Peloponnesian War. The city, under the 30 tyrants' brutal regime, ordered him to arrest an innocent man, Leon of Salamis. Socrates refused, risking death, not out of bravado but because conformity to injustice betrayed the soul's integrity. His stand wasn't loud. It was a silent, resolute no, a testament to self-mastery through principled defiance. This keynote explores how Socrates' refusal to bow to societal pressures offers a blueprint for resisting conformity today, forging a path to authentic success by anchoring your life in truth over expediency. Socrates' defiance was rooted in his belief that the soul's worth outweighs external approval. In Plato's Crito, as he awaits execution, his friend urges escape, citing public opinion and family duty. Socrates responds, "We must not consider what the many say of us, but what the one who knows justice says." This wasn't arrogance, but clarity. True success lies in fidelity to virtue, not the fleeting praise of the masses. His encounters with the sophists, as depicted in Protagoras, highlight this. They taught conformity to win debates and curry favor. Socrates countered with questions exposing their hollow rhetoric, showing that bending to societal whims sacrifices the self. His approach, relentless inquiry over blind agreement, challenged Athens' norms, earning him enemies but also immortality. This defiance shaped Western thought. Plato's Academy, inspired by Socrates' courage, nurtured independent thinkers. Aristotle's emphasis on individual virtue over societal dictates echoes this legacy. Even Nietzsche, despite critiquing Socrates, admired his uncompromising spirit, calling him a free spirit in beyond good and evil. In modern times, figures like Martin Luther King Jr., who cited Socrates in his letter from Birmingham jail, drew on this defiance to challenge unjust laws. Socrates' example shows that self-mastery isn't passive. It's an active rebellion against pressures that erode your principles. How do we apply this today? In an age of social media echo chambers and workplace politics, conformity tempts us daily. Post what's popular, agree to keep the peace, chase trends over truth. Socrates would urge, pause and question. When a colleague pushes an unethical shortcut, ask, does this align with justice? When algorithms nudge you toward outrage, probe, is this my conviction or the crowd's? Practically, cultivate small acts of defiance. Speak truth at a meeting, even if it risks disapproval. Unplug from digital noise to hear your own voice. Journaling these moments, as Socrates might through dialogue, clarifies your stance. His metaphor, the gadfly, stinging the sluggish horse of Athens, applies here. Your defiance, however small, awakens your soul and others. Socrates' life offers vivid stories. In Apology, he recounts to find the assembly's call to illegally try generals en masse, standing alone against a vengeful mob. His calm refusal, rooted in reason, mirrors the self-mastery needed today. Say, resisting a toxic workplace culture that demands silence over ethics. His imagery of the soul as a fortress, unbreached by external pressures, inspires us. Conformity is a siege. Defiance, built on virtue, fortifies your inner citadel. Yet, defiance isn't reckless opposition. Socrates respected Athens' laws when just, as seen in his acceptance of his death sentence. His rebellion was selective, targeting falsehoods and injustice, not order itself. Today, this means discerning when to resist, oppose a policy undermining fairness, but engage constructively elsewhere. This balance requires wisdom, honed through Socratic questioning. Is my resistance rooted in truth or ego? Such inquiry ensures defiance serves eudaimonia, not chaos. As we close this keynote, Socrates' defiance links to his eternal quest for flourishing. By resisting conformity, you carve a path to authentic success, where self-mastery shines brighter than societal applause. His life, a beacon in Athens' turmoil, lights our way through modern pressures, urging us to stand firm in our truth. This defiance flows into his broader legacy, where every question you ask, every stand you take, continues a dialogue he began, a dialogue that shapes a life worth living. I in the cacophony of modern life, when notifications buzz, opinions clash, and the world demands your constant attention. When did you last listen to the quiet voice within? Socrates, the philosopher who roamed Athens' noisy streets, found wisdom not in the clamor of the agora, but in moments of inner stillness. Plato's Symposium paints a vivid scene. Socrates, lost in thought, standing motionless for hours in the cold, barefoot, oblivious to the world's bustle. This wasn't distraction, but a deliberate retreat into silence, a space where he wrestled with life's deepest questions. For Socrates, inner silence was a forge of self-mastery, where the soul clarifies its purpose, free from external noise. This keynote explores how cultivating this silence empowers us to master ourselves, redefining success as a harmony born within, not a trophy won without. Socrates' practice of inner silence wasn't escapism. It was active engagement with the self. In Phaedo, as he faces death, his calm discourse on the soul's immortality reflects a mind honed by quiet reflection. He didn't seek solitude to avoid life, but to understand it, using silence to probe questions like, what is a good, or how should I live? This practice, described by Xenophon in Memorabilia, allowed him to navigate Athens' chaos, war, political upheaval, and his own trial, with unshakable clarity. His famous phrase, I know that I know nothing, emerged from such stillness, a recognition that true wisdom begins when the mind quiets its pretensions. This silence shaped his legacy. Plato's dialogues, born from Socratic introspection, inspired Aristotle contemplative ethics in Nicomachean Ethics, where reflection precedes virtuous action. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, whose meditations echo Socratic self-examination, leaned on silence to master emotions. In modernity, mindfulness practices, rooted in pausing to observe the self, owe a debt to Socrates' quiet inquiries. Today, when screens and schedules drown our thoughts, his example urges us to reclaim silence as a tool for self-mastery. How do we harness this power? Start small. Carve out 5 minutes daily to sit in stillness, free from devices. Ask the Socratic question, what truly matters to me? And let the answer emerge without forcing it. In a workplace buzzing with demands, pause before reacting to stress. Silence lets reason prevail. Journaling, as Socrates might through dialogue, captures these insights. For instance, when tempted by a flashy but hollow opportunity, inner silence reveals whether it aligns with your virtues. This practice counters a modern rush, social media's clamor, consumerism's lure, grounding success in authentic purpose. Socrates' imagery enriches this. In Republic, he likens the soul to a harmonious lyre, its strings tuned by reason. Silence is a tuning fork, aligning chaotic desires into melody. Consider his trial and apology. Facing death, his serene defiance stemmed from a soul clarified by quiet reflection, unmoved by the crowd's roar. Today, when outrage culture amplifies noise, silence empowers you to resist knee-jerk reactions, choosing responses that reflect your deepest values. This isn't about isolation. Socrates' silence fueled his dialogues, sharpening his questions in the agora. Similarly, your inner quiet enhances outward engagement, listening deeply to a friend, questioning societal norms with clarity. In a polarized world, silence before speaking prevents parroting dogmas, fostering Socratic openness. Imagine a heated debate. A moment's pause lets you respond with insight, not impulse, embodying self-mastery. Yet, silence requires courage. It confronts you with uncomfortable truths, doubts, fears, or misaligned priorities. Socrates embraced this, as seen in Crito, where he quietly weighs escape against duty, choosing principle. You might face similar moments, a career path misaligned with your soul's compass. Silence reveals a mismatch, guiding you toward authentic success, even if it means defying expectations. As we close, the power of inner silence ties to Socrates' defiance of conformity. By quieting external noise, you hear your own truth, resisting pressures to conform. His life, a symphony of thought born in stillness, lights our path. In your next quiet moment, let Socrates' question echo, what is my soul's true aim? This silence, a sacred pause, forges a success not shouted to the world but whispered within, a harmony that endures. When life storms, failure, rejection, or loss threaten to break you, what transforms pain into growth? Socrates, Athens' unyielding questioner, saw adversity as an alchemist's fire, refining the soul toward self-mastery. In Plato's Apology, facing a death sentence, he declares, a good man cannot be harmed. This wasn't denial but a conviction. Challenges, when met with virtue, forge a stronger self. Picture him in 399 BCE, calmly sipping hemlock, his serenity a testament to a life tempered by hardship, war, poverty, and betrayal into wisdom. Socrates' trials were crucibles. As a hoplite in the Peloponnesian War, described in Symposium, he endured hunger and cold, yet his focus remained on truth. His defiance of the 30 tyrants, refusing to arrest an innocent, risked death but honed his integrity. In Crito, he rejects escape, choosing principle over survival. This alchemy influenced Plato's vision of resilience, Aristotle's ethics of perseverance, and Stoic endurance, resonating in modern concepts like grit. Today, apply this. When setbacks hit, a lost job, a broken relationship, ask, how does this test my virtues? Journal responses to clarify lessons. Socrates' metaphor of the soul as gold, purified by fire, guides us. Adversity burns away illusions, revealing true priorities. In a world glorifying ease, his example redefines success as growth through struggle. This alchemy links to inner silence. Adversity's lessons emerge in quiet reflection, transforming pain into purpose. Socrates' life, forged in hardship's crucible, shows that self-mastery turns trials into triumphs, crafting a success that shines through life's darkest moments. When did you last look into the mirror of your own soul, unflinching, to see who you truly are? Socrates, Athens' relentless questioner, believed self-knowledge was a cornerstone of a meaningful life. In Plato's Alcibiades, he tells a young, ambitious Alcibiades, "Know thyself," a maxim carved at Delphi's temple, urging introspection over outward glory. Picture Socrates in 432 BCE, engaging a brash youth in the Agora, his questions peeling back layers of pride to reveal unexamined motives. For Socrates, self-knowledge wasn't a luxury but a necessity for self-mastery, transforming fleeting success into enduring purpose. This keynote explores how his pursuit of self-awareness challenges us to confront our truths, forging a path to authentic living in a world that often distracts us from ourselves. Socrates' method, as seen in Laches, probed courage not as battlefield bravado but as inner clarity. He asked generals and students alike, "What drives your actions?" forcing them to face hidden fears or vanities. In Apology, he credits his wisdom to knowing his ignorance, a humility that freed him from delusion. This self-awareness shaped his trial's defiance, choosing death over betraying his principles. His influence echoes in Plato's introspective dialogues, Aristotle's ethics of self-understanding, and modern psychology's focus on self-reflection, urging us to question our motives. Today, apply this. Amid social media's curated facades or workplace pressures, pause to ask, why do I want this? Journal your answers to uncover what's authentic versus imposed. Socrates' metaphor of the soul as a mirror, polished by inquiry, guides us. Clarity comes from honest reflection. When chasing a promotion, probe if it's ego or purpose driving you. This counters modern distractions, endless notifications, societal expectations, anchoring success in truth. His life illustrates this. In Symposium, Socrates' stillness amid reverie shows a man attuned to his inner voice, unswayed by external cues. Facing death in Phaedo, his calm stemmed from a soul is examined relentlessly. For us, this means small, brave steps. Question a choice that feels misaligned. Resist. People-pleasing. Embrace uncomfortable truths. Self-knowledge isn't easy. It reveals flaws. Yet, Socrates shows it's a path to mastery, turning decisions into acts of integrity. This mirror connects to adversity's alchemy. By knowing yourself, you transform challenges into growth, as Socrates did. His life, a dialogue with his soul, invites you to polish your own mirror, reflecting success not of applause but of a self truly known. As we stand once more in the shadow of that Athenian courtroom, where Socrates faces accusers with serenity that defied death itself, we see the culmination of a life devoted to truth. In 399 BCE, surrounded by a jury swayed by fear and falsehood, he spoke not to save his life but to defend his soul's integrity. "The unexamined life is not worth living," he declared, and with those words, he handed us a torch that burns across centuries. His final act, drinking the hemlock without fear, as Plato recounts in Phaedo, was a defeat but the ultimate act of self-mastery, a man so aligned with virtue that even death could not diminish him. This image, vivid as a documentary's closing frame, calls us to reflect. How will you wield that torch in your own life? Socrates' wisdom distills to this: ignorance, when acknowledged, sparks knowledge. Virtue is the soul's compass, guiding through chaos. Courage means living truthfully, even against a crowd, and the examined life transforms existence into meaning. These aren't abstract ideals, but practical tools. In our world of relentless noise, where algorithms dictate desires and conformity tempts, Socrates' voice cuts through. He urges you to question, are your ambitions yours, or society's shadows? When adversity strikes, his alchemy turns pain into growth. In silence, his method reveals your deepest truths. Each keynote, from questioning to defiance, builds a framework for success not as fleeting applause but as a soul forged in authenticity. To honor Socrates is not to recite his words but to live his spirit. Pause daily to probe your choices. Does this job, this relationship, this moment align with justice, courage, wisdom? Defy pressures to conform, as he did, risking death to uphold truth. Cultivate silence to hear your soul's quiet voice. Let adversity refine you, as it did him, into gold. This is eudaimonia, flourishing not in wealth or status, but in a life examined and true. As you step back into the world's clamor, carry Socrates' lantern. Let it light your path through doubt, temptation, or loss. His legacy isn't a monument but a living dialogue, inviting you to question, to master yourself, to flourish. In your next choice, hear his voice. What is a good life, and are you daring to live it? This is his gift, a challenge to craft a success that echoes beyond time, as enduring as the stones of Athens, as vital as the breath you take now.